I think it first hit me when I went to see a woman who they told me had died. And I went and I got there and she was sitting by her hut. Huts are made out of sticks and palm leaves, you know. She's sitting there and I go over and talk to her and I said, well, people said you died. I'm glad you're alive. She said, no, my heart. So apparently fainting would be the same word that they had used, you know. And I said, so if you had died, do you know what would happen? And she said, AOA, you don't have to worry. I know who Jesus is, and I'd go to heaven and be with him. And then she starts talking about her children. And she's listing this one and this one and this one, and she gets up to 10. And I go, well, I know this one. I know 5 of your children. Who are these other 5? Oh, those are the ones that died. And I came to really understand how important clean water was and a lack of food for those people. And initially, God just showed me how to do clean water. And then as we were studying Matthew 25 and the goats and the sheep, he just like convicted me. You need to do more. You need to help these people. They're hungry. We were starting some CHE programs and we did need assessments. And every time, I don't know if you know what a need assessment is, but basically helps them identify what they feel their needs are. And every time hunger was the number 1 and clean water was number 2. It was like, yeah, God's speaking loud and clear. For the last 4 years, it's been a drought in Turkana. And a lot of people have ended up maybe a few animals, really rich, would still have probably 50 goats. But a lot of people have no goats at all. And it's still going on. If it rains, you know, I think it rained in August. So they had grass for a month. And as far as I know, it hasn't rained again. They told me that. Now they say, now that they have modern meteorology, you know, the government's issuing heat advisories for Turkana, which I thought was kind of funny. It's always 95 to 100 every day there. So, but
there's actually been a cycle of poor rains for a few years now, and some areas of Kenya are not hit as badly as others. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and some areas they're hurt to some degree, and some of the cattle aren't doing very well, but they're managing to get by. But then there's other areas where there is no rain, no grass, and recently heard in one area 85% of their livestock have died based on the drought. And so they're getting to the point where some of the most vulnerable are dying, some of the elderly, some of the weaker. And so that's when we try to kick in and say, what can we do in terms of providing some relief? And then we always try to come alongside and say, then what kind of development can we do, you know, to help build their capacity so that when things like this happen in the future, they're in a better position. I think one of the things that happened in this case was as people were coming to Christ and churches were being planted, we realized that empowering the church is more than just giving them the Word of God. And this is something that Gene was really convicted about. We communicated a lot about that if we really want to equip the church, it's more than just teaching the Word of God. We have to make sure that they have food to eat and that they are able to impact their communities as well. You know, they want to help people in their community. How do we do that? And so food sometimes can open up, the door for the gospel. A lot of this grew out of working alongside of the local church and realizing that our work is incomplete if we're not also providing in this way, both for the church, but also so the church can bless their communities.